Hi, good day. My name is Nita Patel, and I'm the chair for the IEEE Women in Engineering International Leadership Conference. Thank you for joining this truly international panel representation. We have speakers from the US, Japan, and India. Today, I'm joined by three illustrious ladies who have made themselves a name in the industry of technology. We have Roxana Hajesha, who is the co-founder of the IEEE Santa Clara Valley Women in Engineering Group. Takako Hashimoto, the current international chair for IEEE Women in Engineering, and Ramalatha Marimuthu, who is the past international chair for IEEE Women in Engineering. Please join me in welcoming these ladies. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Hi.
We're going to get started with a conversation. We all come to engineering through different paths, but there's usually some inspiration that has brought us to this point in time. Let's begin by talking a little bit about what inspired you to pursue a career in engineering and technology. Let's start with Takako, and then Ramalatha, and then Roxana. Takako?
Okay, so actually, I wanted to contribute to the world by technology. So I wanted to develop something new to change the world for the others. So, and I was math girl, and I like programming. I like programming, coding, and therefore I choose to be the engineering, and I selected the engineering career. Thank you.
Thanks, Takako. How about you, Ramalatha?
I was inspired by one of my relatives who is an engineer. And when I joined engineering, I didn't have any idea about engineering. But once I joined engineering, all my peer leaders, particularly Dr. Abdul Kalam of India, who was the past president, he was also inspiring person for young people in India, and he inspired me a lot. And once I joined engineering, I understood that whatever dreams we have, it is possible for us to make it come alive just by being an engineer, because engineers observe, learn, and give solutions. And this is the reason for picking out engineering as my profession. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ramalatha. It's absolutely true. We do make an impact and others impact us. Roxana, who impacted you or inspired you to pursue engineering?
Well, that was great, Ramalatha. My inspiration came from my dad, who wanted to become an engineer but didn't have the opportunity, even though he was awesome in math. I always wanted to become an engineer. I remember writing that in my friends' scrapbooks in the elementary school. But it always seemed so natural to me since I was great in math. Not as good as my dad, of course, but I remember everyone at the 8th and 9th grade, they were calling me Molla Jabri, which means Master Algebra. So I really made my father's dream come true, but I love engineering, and I have enjoyed it all my life to this date.
Yes, whether it's a passion for the technology or the passion for the influences we've had, there's always something that impacts us to think about why engineering. That's a great story, Roxana, and Ramalatha. You shared something similar where somebody else influenced you and made a difference to pursue the field. I'm curious to know, as leaders, which you guys are role models for the next generation. What advice would you give to the next generation to pursue engineering or get into technology? What do you think people should do? Why would you tell them this is a great field? How about starting with Ramalatha?
Yeah. I wouldn't like to give any advice to the youngsters As far as I understand, the youngsters are on a class of their own. They understand engineering better than their peers, their role models. But at the same time, the short-term vision is the only one which reduces the span of their reach out for engineering and the engineering applications. So my suggestion would be that the young people who pursue engineering should have a long vision to serve the community around them. Look out, just look out, and you will get a lot of issues which, as an engineer, it is your responsibility to solve, and you are the only one capable of solving it. So, that confidence gives you a lot of inspiration and also motivation for you to go ahead and do the things in the world just by stepping out. So, this is my just go out, find the issues, try solving them.
Yeah, great advice. Just go out and make things happen. Take a step. How about you, Roxana? What advice would you give to those that might be considering a field?
Yeah, beside following your passion in technology and plugging the gaps in the design and process and tools, um, uh, that because you're the future, it's always important to design and build stuff that serves humanity. I totally agree with Ramalatha. But I have another advice that is embrace the change in your career because technology is evolving in a rapid speed. And so you need to be reinventing yourself to stay technically relevant. You need to connect with IEEE, Women in Engineering, and other tech communities inside and outside of your company. I also have another advice for the parents to support your daughter's aspirations unconditionally on their journey. I felt supported all the time. My mom says, all my prayers are with you to stay healthy, to work in your field. Since she admires my passion for technology. Now my husband and I are supporting our daughter in her journey studying finance at university because she's also good in math.
Yeah, that's awesome. So one generation, so getting inspiration from your dad, getting their support from your parents, and you pushing it to the next generation. But I really loved the idea of this evolution of technology and its constant changing, which can be very exciting, and following that passion and energy as the technology is evolving. That's great. How about you, Takako? What advice would you share with those that might be interested?
Okay, so especially in a traditional society in Japan, also in the U.S., in India, so we are and sometimes facing a lot of issues for continuing our career development. So therefore, I'd like to give an advice from me. So anyway, never give up and continue to work, continue our work, and also be brave to get opportunities to develop our career, especially more globally. So, and also we have to be myself, be ourselves, be myself. So to be only one engineer. So this is very important, and we should be be myself, and also achieve something new and something that can contribute to society. Thank you.
Thanks, Takako. That's awesome. Be yourself. You're right. All of us, even just the four of us on this call, are unique and different individuals. And I love the field of engineering because it really gives you that opportunity to be yourself. But that's great advice. Thanks, Takako. For those of us who are joining live, if you would like to ask the panelists a question, please type into the Google Hangout your questions. We will be collecting them, and as we go throughout the session here, I'll be asking questions that you share through the Hangout or through Twitter, and we'll continue the conversation that way. In the interim, I have a few other questions for our panelists. One of the things that I frequently get asked is, it's great to get women and girls into technology and engineering, but what are we going to do with them there? Two parts to that question. Do you think the support is there in the industry to sustain women in engineering? And what do you think the largest challenges that is facing women in technology today? Let's start with Roxana on this question.
I would say the first challenge is pressure of work-life balance, as women will be bringing the next generation of engineers into the world. So in this case, I think the support from their husband will be the key to keep the woman in the field. I had both a supportive husband and her grandparents as my support system to raise my daughter. So I could stay in the field for more than 30 plus years, just in Silicon Valley in high tech. The second challenge that I think which is the same for men, is staying technically relevant, again, due to all these rapid changes in technology. So you need to recreate yourself, because what you are doing now will be obsolete soon. And therefore, you have to stay on top of all the technical stuff through IEEE, WIE, magazines, tech talks, connections, and so on. And I have a third challenge that I think is the early career development. So when our students, they leave the university, they lose all their connections, their access to the publications, to the network of engineers. So the best is that IEEE and WIE help them keep that. So it's good to join these communities so they can keep that connection.
Yeah, three really tough challenges, and I liked that you pointed out through work-life balance, support of family, the technical challenge, as well as the career development. There are resources, and some of those resources you need to take advantage of. You need to go and get the assistance or the help, whether it's from your support system or through communities like IEEE Women in Engineering. Thanks, Roxana. Takako, what are your thoughts on some of the challenges that women in technology or in the field may be facing today?
Okay, so actually, as Roxana said, work-life balance is very significant. The work-life balance is very important to continue working. And also, we need to change our mindset too. Especially in a traditional country, we sometimes hesitate to develop our career more. So therefore, we need to change our mindset to be more brave. And also, we need maintain or develop our career network, female engineers network. So we are sometimes isolated at the office or in company and in a university as a female engineer. So, but if we can have a good network or good friends and good role model and mentors, so we can overcome such issues. So therefore, the maintain and develop network is really important, I think. Thank you.
Yeah, I like the concept of the network, but also the courageous part and challenging ourselves and being confident and challenging ourselves. That's a really good point. As you try to seek support outside, also seeking support within you, right? Being that confidence and the strength that you can bring to the table and overcoming those challenges. Thank you, Takako. How about you, Ramalatha? What thoughts might you have on this?
I believe that self-motivation is the first thing that will help you to balance your life as well as career. We women always think that the family is first priority over our career. But over the years, it becomes important to have a career of your own too, to develop yourself, and the family also benefits from it. So from the early career itself, it is very, very important for us to identify which part of career and which part of family you are going to mix and balance, and self-motivate yourself to bring out that kind of mindset. And the next one is technically as well as improving your soft skills. It is very important if you want to stay in your career. And one thing I believe is when you start mentoring other people, when you start helping other people, automatically it motivates you also. So self motivation also becomes a motivation for others, and you become an inspirational role model. And this kind of friendships, networking, that I have felt in women in engineering by being with so many role models like the past chairs of IEEE Women in Engineering and current chair too. And these inspirations are much more important for you. The similar way you have to mentor and help the other women too. So that actually just you think about their own problems, and in fact you see your reflection there, and it will solve some of your problems also there.
Yeah, that's a great point where we can share both the struggles we've been through, but also how we might have overcome them so that we can be an inspiration for the next generation or the next step and share our knowledge as a mentor, but learn from the others that are in the same community as us and that might have some of these same encounters. One of the things that you touched upon as you're talking through here was the concept that, and Takako mentioned this specifically, was that there are different challenges in different parts of the world. And I know we're here representing at least 3 major different parts. I'm curious to know, and you've each traveled in different places, do you see this challenge as being different culturally, or is it the same challenge for everybody? What are your thoughts on that? Takako, did you want to expand on maybe some of the differences that you've seen or some of the similar challenges you might see in the different parts?
Okay, so actually so in Japan it is really traditional society, and we are facing a lot of issues. So to be a working mother, also but in India maybe there are a lot of, and also the engineering is not girls matter. It is quite common sense in Japan actually, and still we have very few female students in engineering department, so in Japan. But in India, so a lot of engineering students, fortunately, I know, and it is really great. So that I think that at the beginning stage as a female engineers, so in India, it's really nice situation. And but in Japan, we have to anyway make female students more attractive, so for the engineering. And but actually that for the middle career female engineer, so we have similar issues to be the decision making position, to go up the decision making position. So we are feeling the glass ceiling to be promoted. So it is quite similar issue, and for the female engineer, I feel. And so therefore, of course, we have a lot of different issues or issues or problems for engineering career development. But sometimes, of course, we have common issues like glass ceiling and also work-life balance. And so it is quite common problem in the world for the as a female engineer or as working mother or something like that, I think. Thank you.
Thanks, Takako. Yeah, you're right. And there is a lot of statistics that show that the maybe perception of engineering is different in different parts of the world. You have a lot more young girls going into engineering in the fields in India, Asian countries, some Latin American countries, but maybe they don't stay, similarly to in the US, they don't stay in engineering for some of the reasons you highlighted, right? The pressures of work-life balance, the perceptions are different. Ramalatha, from your background and experience in India, representing that part of the world to us, what are some of the challenges that you've seen that might be the same or different?
Yeah, in India, into engineering is a easy path. We see a lot of women entering into engineering, and as soon as the education is over, they also join a job. But you don't see many women continuing that job. The reason being, here in India, parents have a very strong decision making level when it comes to the life of women. Like they have to identify what sort of life their daughter is going to have, and it might be that she doesn't need a career, or she will be getting married to another man who will not have his wife going for a career. So that sort of challenges actually makes the women drop out of the career. But I believe that dropping out of the career is not going to be a solution. So usually in women in engineering, when I do the activities, I try to encourage that sort of women who take a break and then wish to come back but lack the confidence to come back. So I'm constantly organizing a program called Returning Mothers, where I conduct a workshop for these people who want to come back but at the same time lack the confidence to boost their skills. The workshop will give them either a freelancing skill. For example, this year we are going to organize one freelancing skill for skill development workshop for returning mothers, which is going to be on animation skills, web development. So the mothers are the women who have taken a break in their career. They can themselves be at home and do a freelancing job and develop their skills also. So when they want to come back to their career, it will not be a deterrent. So this is the major deterrent in India I have seen. But at the same time, the only good thing about India is that women are ready to take any helping hand that is extended to them. Like in region 8, I have seen when I want to organize a women um, activity, the immediate response was, why particularly for women? Women wouldn't want to identify themselves as a separate kind of people. They are also part of the human beings. So it has to be for men as well as women. Then I had to go and explain that it is not like that. Women in engineering actually supports men as well as women going together to bring a quality of life for a community. And that was difficult for me to explain. But at the same time, in India, it is very easy for me to reach out to the people who really need the help. So that is one major difference I have seen. And the other difference I have seen is in the work environment. When the women want to pursue their career in India, I have seen that traditionally it has been seen that where is women, if they want to survive, they have to be both on equal terms. But when a woman has given birth to a child, or when she is physically weak, it is difficult for us to convince that the bosses, I mean, it is difficult to convince them that they may need a break, and a woman is different in this particular reason. When she wants to take a break, she has to be given that break. So this is the only difference, and this is the only deterrent right now for the women to go back for their career.
Thanks, Ramalatha. You're right. I think there is that cultural difference of being able to be willing and accepting of help, and as we've heard along the way, that sometimes we need an external push or support system to help make some of the challenges a little bit easier. But I also like the perspective that people are willing to go take on a challenge and having that sense of, yeah, okay, even if you don't think this is something I should do, this is something I'm going to do, which I think is more about the empowering and getting women into the field and taking control a little bit. So for those of us who may be just joining us, if you would like us to answer a question you may have, you can share your thoughts and questions with us. At the bottom of each of our names, you will see the hashtag WIE lead Hangout. If you tweet or through the Hangout send us a question, we'll get to them as we continue the conversation. We've heard from Takako, Ramalatha, and Roxana about their experiences, some of the inspirations they've had, and we've also heard a little bit of some of what they would advise us to do. Be confident, grow strong, stay technically active, develop a network, and then some of those advice can help us with the challenges that we might be encountering as women in technology. I know that we also have a community, and one of the things each of you touched upon is establishing that community. IEEE Women in Engineering is essentially serving that function, bringing together and convening women in technology, electrical, mechanical, computer science, software, biomedical, bringing these individuals together to convene and support one another. And what I'm curious to know is, what have you gained or gotten out of this community, and why do you think it's important? Why do you think it's necessary to have a Women in Engineering group, or what is it that has impacted you personally? Let's start with Roxana.
Well, great question. I personally think, and I do have a personal that I will share soon. I think we really need this community to network and learn from each other, and share our experiences and ensure we can stay ahead. And as I mentioned before, there are so many changes in technology, and so this community would enable us to advance to higher levels. We had highly qualified technology women who were out of workforce and got engaged in Santa Clara Valley Women in Engineering, and were able to get back to workforce as directors and technical program managers over the past few years. They were able to do this because the Santa Clara Valley WIE, like WIE community in general, helped provide networks, provide leadership skills, specifically communication skills. I'm really proud to see that such a camaraderie amongst the women in high tech at the WIU community. But personally, what I have to share is that in my WIU really helped me in my professional communication skills through great speakers that we had at the WIE events since 2002, that we're also in the Santa Clara Valley section. Through the different officers' position that Ramalatha was also explaining, that I was as the secretary, I learned how to take meeting minutes, for example, and publish them. As a treasurer, I learned how to budget and do balance sheets. As the chair, I learned how to lead. And these are skills that I learned as the officer levels at the not only WIE, but also at the Santa Clara Valley section, which is the largest section in the world. It really, really helped me to later to use them in my leadership roles in the industry. So, so I think it's great when engineers get involved in the in this community to learn leadership skills. I also learned skills from my coach, Ingrid Gavshon from Haas School of Business from Berkeley, and I met her at one of the events. So it's great to come to these events and learn these things, because I really think that communication is very important when you learn about your weaknesses and you work on them to make them perfect. And never becomes perfect, but it still, it really helps you to advance you in higher positions.
Yeah, that's a great point, Roxana, that it's not just about a network where you might be able to tap into individuals or meet people, but it's also personally and experimental ground where you can come learn different leadership skills, learn different techniques of interacting and convening groups together, and understanding how to become a better leader, a better business person, a better technologist, a better engineer all around. Yeah, great point. Takako, what do you think is the importance of women in engineering, and how might it have benefited you personally?
Yeah, so and before starting the right volunteer work, so actually I was isolated at my office So actually I was minority, and now I'm still minority in my university. So as a female engineer, a female professor. So but by women engineering, so I was able to have a lot of friends in the world, like Nita and Ramalatha, Roxana, and so on. So in the world, and I could find good mentors and also role models. So it was really valuable for my career development. So I could find the people that I want to be like them. And also Roxana said, uh, uh, besides such kind of the networking and the communication, so I was able to find a really good research partner through the work. So I could find a very nice opportunities to start a global collaborative research work. And now I have a few and international research projects in the world, in the US and in Thai and in India. And really nice to develop our career globally. If I did not do the right volunteer work, I did not find get this kind of great opportunities to develop my career as an other female engineers. And also WIE gave me a lot of opportunity to foster my leadership skill. So as a women engineering international chair, so really special experience for these years by in the WIE. So therefore, the WIE really valuable for me. So to foster myself. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Takako. And I think that's great, is that you found somebody to advance your research work with you and met people, but as Roxana was saying, you also benefited from the skills and the development and the mentoring and the training that you received from the community, essentially, right? Where you have other people who are there with you. Ramalatha, do you have any thoughts on how you've benefited from this, or why you think this type of community might be important for women in engineering?
Sure. Basically, I come from a rural background, so it was always difficult to make a difference and show that I have skills and I'm unique. And women in engineering, particularly IEEE, has given me that sort of encouragement to show that I'm unique in certain areas. I would say when I needed to widen my horizons, IEEE Women in Engineering was always there. When I joined IEEE, the Region 10 director was a Women in Engineering voter, and the Women in Engineering chair was also very supportive of my activities. And the program manager, Kiana, she has done a lot of help in bringing some of my ideas to fruition. And I, first time for in my career, I thought that the outreach programs also can be linked with my career. And engineering is not just learning engineering and imparting the engineering knowledge to the students, but when applications are related to the community and the society, I learned that the students are much more interested in the engineering, in learning it, in applying it, and this gave me a lot of encouragement to pursue the research and encourage my students also to pursue the same research. So I learned solving the issues, widening my network, making friends, and getting leadership skills. And most of all, I don't have any financial head, but still I learned it and became the treasurer of my section for 2 years, and I loved it. And it has also helped me in my education career, because I have learned so many things about accreditation, and even before India goes for upgradation, the accreditation, I'm able to learn because I'm a part of the Educational Activities Board. And this has always put me one step ahead in India, and I'm a consultant for many of the colleges. I'm very happy about knowing these things in advance and imparting that knowledge to the others.
Thank you, Ramalatha. Yes, so many opportunities, and then the fact that you took advantage of those opportunities to help yourself grow personally, as did Roxana and Takako, is that you can have a community who brings together the information and the technology and the people, but then ultimately it still is you as an individual that has to take advantage of that fact that those resources are there. And each of you have demonstrated that as leaders within this community and the organization. You guys are outstanding role models. We do have a few questions from our Twitter feed, so I'll take a couple of questions for you now. There's an interesting question here about remote work. Do you think, as women in technology, remote work benefits help or hurt you? And do you think that remote work is a good idea or a bad idea? What are your thoughts on that? Takako?
Yeah. Okay, remote work is a really good idea. Actually, I did it. So for when my children were very small, and it was really effective. So when children are sick, got sick, and or something happened, and actually we are engineer in IT fields. We can utilize our information technology to for the remote work, and yeah, we should do it. We should do that, I think. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Yes, and personally it has definitely made an impact for you. Roxana, do you have any thoughts about remote work and how it might fit into Silicon Valley and some of the conversations that may be going on in that region?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think remote working is great because, first of all, due to the growth in the population and in the technology here, there's a lot of traffic. So it's better to work from home in the morning and then do your meetings and everything from home. If you have all these back-to-back meetings, and if you don't have time, just do the whole thing from home, and that really helps you to get it. Actually is more efficient and get the work done better and faster. So there are days that I don't even have time to get to work because if I have to drive 1 hour to work and 1 hour back, I'm losing 2 hours in the traffic. So a lot of people actually at Cisco, they work from home on certain days. And as Takato was saying, that if the kids are small, I didn't have that opportunity when my kid was small, but it helps them to work from home. But if you have like elderly people that you're taking care of or something, and you have to stay at home, but you're working from home, it's very good, because then there are times that you could be attentive to them, and then there are times that you have to do the work done. And as it's customary, we work like 24 hours a day. So at nights with China, and in the mornings with India, and all these work that we have to balance them during the day with the. So it's just like work-life integration. It's not really balancing it. It's work and life has been integrated these days. Due to the globalization, and with this globalization, we really have to attend to so many different countries. So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, as you're saying, it's a solution to a problem. The challenge or the problem is the traffic or the ability to interact across different time zones, and the solution is remote work and being able to have access to that to facilitate it. Ramalatha, you have any thoughts on this subject?
Yeah, right now I would love to be in Roxana's place because they allow remote work in their company, and my college doesn't do that. I would love to do the teaching by remote. And jokes apart, IEEE has really given me this remote work idea because most of the times for the IEEE, I do the work from here, and we have only one face-to-face meeting. Even probably, I don't attend any of the years, and I continue to contribute to the IEEE for the whole year. And the other thing I have been talking about just now is that in India, it is really difficult to sustain the women's career because of the problem with women's lack of confidence to come back to work when they drop out of the career once. And as I said, I'm organizing workshop for them to learn some skills to update their skills in a particularly interesting area, particularly the entertainment area, where they can do remote work. And I'm also tying up with a company who will be able to bring them jobs which they can do from home itself. So this will give really encourage a great encouragement for the women who seek to come back to their career but don't know how to do it. But at the same time, I'm sure that we will be able to sustain the talent pool which has been dropping out of the career arena right now. India has boasted the much increase in IT sectors and particularly women careers. But at the same time, the dropout for women also is the greatest in India. So I'm sure this remote work will help bringing down that dropout rate at least. For a year or two, they may be doing the freelance, and if they want to come back to the career, give them the confidence that we already learned now. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great point, is that again, you have another challenge, a different maybe challenge, and solutions are available. We have the technology, we have the resources. We can make these happen if we can also maybe have a cultural shift to accept them, right? You talked about in India, maybe it's not as acceptable to have this remote work or type of situation, where in Silicon Valley, as Roxana said, it's definitely a bit of a norm where it's expected that that would be offered by a company. So it's all about taking these challenges, solving them with problems, and as individuals, we can each contribute. We can also contribute to how we think about engineering. And one of the questions that came into the feed is, how do you truly encourage a young woman to begin a career in STEM? What kind of resources would you point them to? Not just the, yes, you should pursue this, but maybe what kind of resources that you can point them to help them become encouraged. Roxana, do you have any ideas on how you might help young girls to think about STEM? It could be something like a tool that you've heard about, or something that you've heard about as a way to get involved and understanding engineering.
And I think the students should participate in a lot of. There are a lot of activities that also IEEE from K through 12 that contributes to the schools and also high schools. One of them that we support and have been a judge is like Future City. And Future City, they get to design these cities for the future, and it has a lot of engineering work in it. And I've been a judge for so many of them, and Santa Clara Valley section, we support them. And there are a lot of other resources that I know that the teachers take advantage. It's like RAFT, the resource for the teaching, that the teachers actually bring in a lot of materials and that are physics and science and engineering related to the school, and teach the students. So I think if the other part that I think is really important is the parents to encourage them and tell them that to make sure that they encourage them that they could participate in these activities. I think that's the most important thing. There are a lot of activities at schools, and especially in the Santa Clara Valley. I was talking about like Future City, and there is a science fair, the Science Maker Fair, and it has a lot of science projects. And I think all they need is to participate.
Thank you, Roxana. Yeah, that's a great list of resources. And as you pointed out, IEEE supports a ton of outreach and trying to engage young kids through Future Cities, Try Engineering, Try Nano, Try Computing. There's a lot of different resources. Takako, do you see anything different in Japan or other parts of the world that you may have visited that might be options as well?
Yeah, actually, so recently they're encouraging young generations to be an engineer is really and very popular. It is a kind of trend in the world, and therefore there are a lot of the events held in the world. As Roxanne said, kind of workshop or gathering for something like that to encourage them. So I recommend the young generation to anyway join such kind of event. And the important point is to find the mentors at the beginning stage of their career, I think. So if we can find a good role model and good mentor for the career development as engineer, so we can it will be easier to overcome the issues that we face. So therefore, anyway, join such an event and find such event. Maybe there must be a lot of events in the world and in your society. So therefore, please check such event in your society and please join such event and meet a lot of friends, a lot of people, so for your career, to help your career development.
Yes, thanks, Takako. You're right. There are a lot of events, and maybe as Roxana also touched on, finding that support network and mentor community, somebody who can help you go along. We have quite a few more questions, so Ramalatha, I'm going to actually ask you a different question. One of the questions that came in is that sometimes it's a very scary step for women to ask questions and be courageous. You talked a little bit earlier about women in India are willing to accept help and have a better sense of taking advantage of help that may be offered to them. How do you, or what advice would you give to, say, be courageous and to ask questions at work? How would you advise somebody?
I would ask them to attend this chat and start asking the question. That is my first step. And in a workplace, yes, it is difficult for them to ask questions at the workplace. And the most important reason behind this is the women, they lack the confidence. And the confidence can be built up only if they can build up their curiosity and start learning it. So the women, they have to first understand the situation and probably have background knowledge. Usually the students or even the women who go for their work, they don't prepare. The preparation is not considered to be an important step for them, and preparation will definitely help them ask a question. See, even Winston Churchill said, most of my brilliant questions were thought out even a week in advance. So it is not necessary for us to be brilliant on the spot and ask a question. It is only preparation, and a continuous preparation, if you go on doing, after a certain period of time, it will give you the courage to think brilliantly and ask the question on the spot. So it's all a kind of training. So I'm sure the women have to train themselves to be curious, to prepare, and also start asking questions.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point, is that preparation is key, and then being prepared helps you sound much more intelligent and be much more courageous when you know, but also just be curious, like you said, just ask questions. You know, there's really not anything such as a bad question. I think all questions are useful, and that's probably one of the strongest skills of a leader. There's another question on the Twitter feed about leadership and what does it mean to be a leader. Each of you are great examples of a leader being courageous, asking questions. What else do you think makes a good leader, Roxana, and what advice would you give people to focus on?
Okay, I was on mute, sorry. Mm, I would say that um, a lot of them that Amalata pointed out, but to be the confident is you really need to learn from your resource. You really need to attend to these resources that you have at work. I think one of the good examples that really helped me was attending to the executive shadow program at Cisco. There's a lot of big, huge companies around the valley, that Silicon Valley here, that they have this program at work, and there are a lot of other resources like WISE, Women in Engineering, in Science and in Engineering and Science. There is iWise, the inspiring women to do information sharing and experiences. There is Connected Women in the entire Silicon Valley, that they have a lot of workshop, and the women, they all have these birds of feathers, that they try to develop themselves professionally and technically, and I think it's really good. The same thing that we have in Women in Engineering at the community, and also the Santa Clara Valley section community. It is good to participate in this and learn all these lessons, and these are all soft skills and leadership skills that you really need to learn, and I think it's good to learn them, and then it automatically, naturally. And I do really agree with Amalata about preparation. If you do prepare, you know that you're not wasting people's time, for example, in the meetings, getting things done quickly, and because you'll be action oriented and then result oriented and get things done, and you're prepared to go to a meeting. And then I'm a program manager, so I can talk about that, and you don't waste people's time, and that's efficient. It saves people's time, and they love you for it. So as an engineer, I think it's really good to be prepared to ask the questions. I think that's the key.
Great. Yeah, thank you for the advice. That's some good advice. We have some wonderful leaders here today. We have Takako Hashimoto, who's the current Women in Engineering International Chair, Roxana Hajdeze, who is the founder of the Santa Clara Valley Women in Engineering, and Ramalatha Marimuthu, who is the past International Women in Engineering Chair. Thanks for joining us. We have time for a few final thoughts, and one of the questions I had seen on the Twitter feed was, when are you going to have an event in my location? And specifically, the location was Poland, which sounds like a fun place to go. But I know we have an event coming up in San Jose on May 23rd and 24th, the IEEE Women in Engineering International Leadership Conference. I know each of you are going to be there, and I'm excited to see you again. I'm curious to know, what is it that you're hoping to get out of the conference? Why do you think this is an important event? Let's start with Ramalatha. I think Ramalatha may be on mute, so maybe Takako, if you want to take it, what is it that you're hoping to get from the Women in Engineering International Leadership Conference?
Okay, so international leadership conference. So this year, for me, the the third international leadership conference, and I joined the conference. So for me, the third visit, and actually every time I can get really good inspiration, and I could listen a lot of valuable executive talk, and also I could find really good friends and and also mentors, and great opportunity to communicate with really nice Deborah members, and also sometimes as I mentioned, I can get the opportunity to spread to develop my research work as well, and it is really motivate me, and all of these really motivate me, and after the international leadership conference, I have a lot of energy. I can have a lot of energy to work again and again continuously. So in Japan, really traditional societies, sometimes I'm so isolated, alone at the office and my university. But after the international leadership conference, I can be really strong and stronger, and really happy, and to have a lot I could have a lot of good opportunity and good chance, good good opportunity to have a time with my good friend and with really good Deborah members. So therefore, I'm sure that if you join ILC, so you also have such a feeling, and it really motivates you, and you can get energy from ILC, I think. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Takako. Yes, it's very exciting, as you said, having just that community there and the energy that you feel when you leave. And I know that struck a nerve with Roxana as well, as she was, and I, and everybody was nodding very vigorously. Roxana, I know you also work at Cisco, and Cisco is our title sponsor this year. They're hosting a reception on Monday evening and a hackathon on Monday, in addition to providing a lot of resources to get there. What other events, or why is it that you come and attend?
Well, really gives me a lot of energy to come there. And likewise, previous years, I'm sure I'll be inspired by all the legendary speakers and the new technology demos by Cisco, of course, and also by a startup company like What Up wire-free charging demo that Energous is going to provide to us, and I'm actually hopefully would inspire the youngest students that we provided scholarship for, and answering their questions while presenting their certificates. And I think last year we created a very good bonding with these students. And one of our last year scholarship recipient who were in PhD program is now working at the Cadence as a design engineer. And we have so many much more as such. But nothing makes me happier than seeing successful, high performer young women in technology. And I can't wait to see all of these students that we provided a scholarship for this year.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and the scholarships are funded by our partnering organizations who help support the event, and this is great. They also have access to getting so many women in engineering together and all the different fields. I think your point about staying technically current in addition to establishing this great community is very true. It's very rare to be able to be surrounded by women who are in the same or similar fields and going through the same challenges. We're looking forward to seeing everybody. Ramalatha, what are your thoughts, or why is it that you are excited to join the conference coming up in May?
The first thing is I'm excited to see how many people from India actually travel so far to be a part of this Women in Engineering International Leadership Conference, because from first year onwards I have been a lot of women travel across the world to come there, and of course from Japan. So this is the most wonderful thing. We draw people from all over the world, and I'm sure every one of them goes out with a lot of thoughts and a lot of encouragement from the role models, and they at least fix up one role model for them to live up and people, young generation, and I also want to recharge myself. That is the reason I come for ILC.
Yes, recharge, connect, learn, all of these things, support, mentor. Great, great, great points about why people want to come and attend. And hopefully you also want to come and attend. If you're interested in learning more or seeing what the event is about, we strongly encourage you. We're wrapping up this session. Thank you so much, Takako, Ramalatha, and Roxana for being a part of the session. It was awesome to hear your thoughts and to speak with you. For those of us on the Hangout who might want to learn a little bit more, please join us for different events coming up all throughout the year with IEEE Women in Engineering, specifically the Women in Engineering International Leadership Conference. It's coming up 23rd, 24th May in San Jose, California. You can find out more information at IEEE-WIE-ILC.org. We're excited if you'll be able to join us, and we hope to see you then. Thanks again for joining us on this Hangout, and it's been our pleasure to host you, my pleasure to have this wonderful conversation with these incredible ladies who are truly leaders in both their fields as well as in the community of women in technology. Look forward to seeing everybody in May. Take care.